India has two genuinely national festivals, the Independence Day and the Republic Day. These are pan-Indian and inclusive in every sense of the two terms. But there is another festival that predates these two and should have been celebrated with equal enthusiasm. And I'm referring to the Quit India Day of August 8, 1942, which launched the do or die struggle for India's freedom from August 9 onwards. The Quit India movement is also referred to as the August Kranti or Revolution. Students of history will know that no revolution happens suddenly. Therefore, in this case also, several events, individual actions, and global as well as local economic, political, social, and other factors contributed towards India's independence movement. The East India Company, which had entered the Indian subcontinent as a trading entity, soon turned into colonizers. We know all this, it's there in the history books. The conquests of Arcot and Plassey and later on Seringamapatnam, or what we call now as Srirangapatnam, whetted their greed. Their exploitative rule and contempt for the natives soon triggered off resentment that exploded into mutinies. The first major mutiny was the Vellore Sepoy mutiny. It was in reaction to, among other things, replacement of the sepoys' traditional headgear. We should know this, that Hindus and Muslims in those days had their own specific headgear, which was part of their social identity, social, religious, cultural identity. The headgear was not just any headgear. So the East India Company wanted to replace their traditional headgear with the one designed by the company. This hurt the sentiments of both the Hindu as well as Muslim soldiers in the employ of the company. I think it was known as the Madras Regiment. The Vellore Mutiny, which began in July 1806, predated the first War of Independence by full 50 years. Another event that acted as a catalyst for India's freedom movement was the Jallianwala Bagh Massacre. That really was a trigger, Unarmed, peaceful and defenseless civilians were ruthlessly shot down. People were pulled out of their homes and made to crawl in the streets, forcing them to salute any Englishman who was passing by, even as they were being kicked and abused by the British soldiers. The Golden Temple was desecrated in an unspeakable manner. Those details I cannot give here. It's there in the book. I'll be just referring to that book. All this would have died in the files of the Raj had not Sir CS Nair, a patriotic civil servant from Kerala, decided to protest against these atrocities. In the bargain, he attracted retribution in the form of court cases in England. That was to be expected. You just can't take on the empire and go unscathed. Anyway, it was really brave of him. So who was Sir Nair? We learn from the well-researched biography The Case That Shook the Empire by Raghu Palat and Pushpa Palat. That Sir Nair was a member of the Viceroy's Executive Council, a position second only to that of the Viceroy. Sir Nair was a very brilliant person, extremely brilliant person, and he had been before that a judge in the Madras High Court and other very prominent positions he had held. He resigned from the post in protest against the Jallianwala Bagh Massacre despite the pleas of Motilal Nehru, Annie Besant, C.F. Andrews and many other political leaders in the Congress and elsewhere. He went to England, fought a court case against Wadehra and exposed the barbarity of the British government in India. The details that came out during the court proceedings shocked the world and tilted the world opinion in favor of India's freedom movement. Of course, today these factors may appear intangible, but they certainly made tactile contributions to India's freedom struggle. The fires lit during the Vellore Sepoy mutiny kept smoldering, flared up in the form of 1857 War of Independence, and provided spirit and substance to Gandhiji's epic struggle for India's independence. Ditto for Sir Nair's exposure on the Jallianwala Bagh Massacre in England. As in love, so in the struggle for freedom, the path was never smooth. There were skeptics, dissenters, and outright saboteurs who didn't want the freedom movement to succeed. At Wardha in July 1942, the Civil Disobedience Movement resolution was passed. It essentially exhorted the Indians to not support the British war effort during the Second World War. The communists criticized the resolution as no more than a ploy to obtain concessions from the imperialists for the bourgeoisie. The Muslim League openly supported the British war effort. Even within the party, there was dissent. C. Rajagopalachari opposed the resolution and quit the party. Nehru and Maulana Azad were uneasy about the wisdom of the civil disobedience movement, but they fell in line. Sardar Patel, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Ashoka Mehta and J.P. Narayan, however, supported the resolution unstintedly. Absolutely, they were all for it. On 8 August 1942, at the All India Congress Committee Bombay session, Mahatma Gandhi introduced Quit India resolution. Gandhiji's Karo Ya Maro, do or die, war cry electrified the people of India and alarmed the British, who resorted to tough measures to quell the movement. Between 60,000 and 1 lakh people were arrested. The entire Indian National Congress leadership, including Mahatma Gandhi, Abdul Kalam Azad, Jawaharlal Nehru and Sardar Patel, was kept behind bars until the end of World War II. The second line of leadership, comprising Aruna Asaf Ali, J.P. Narayan, etc., kept the struggle going. You can well imagine, for so many 2-3 years they were behind bars just to sabotage the Quit India movement. But this was not all. The British government collaborated with Hindu Mahasabha and the Muslim League to discredit the movement. In those days, Hindu Mahasabha and Muslim League were coalition partners in governments formed in the undivided India's northwestern frontier province, Bengal and Sindh. In these three provinces, these two parties, supposedly diametrically opposite to each other, in fact inimical to each other, were coalition partners. It is impossible to believe that there was no mutual understanding between these two communal parties for sabotaging the Quit India movement and therefore stall India's freedom struggle. There is enough archival material to show that Savarkar did not just distance the Hindu Mahasabha from Quit India movement but actually ganged up with the Muslim League to thwart the movement. Shama Prasad Mukherjee pledged to ensure that the movement would not grow roots in Bengal. Let me remind you again, Muslim League and Hindu Mahasabha were coalition partners in the government ruling the province of Bengal, and Mukherjee was part of this government. Golwalkar also remained busy with creating communal divide in the country, which eminently suited the British and the Muslim League interests, not to mention the Hindu Mahasabha interests. They all wanted to have their vote banks, and Muslim League wanted to have its own vote bank of Muslims, Hindu Mahasabha of Hindus, and British wanted them to keep on clashing with each other so that they could prolong their sway over the subcontinent. But as an Urdu poet once observed, मुद्दई लाख बुरा चाहे तो क्या होता है, वही होता है जो मंजूर खुदा होता है. In other words, it doesn't matter if the opponent wishes the worst for you. Only the God's dictate prevails. Here, the God's will was the popular sentiment carefully nurtured by Gandhiji. Gandhiji's efforts finally fetched us the long cherished freedom, but at a price that hurts us even today. Every Indian, irrespective of gender, age, class, caste, creed, region, or religion, has paid this price. Whatever the divisive communal forces say or do, every Indian is a stakeholder in the secular, socialist, and democratic Republic of India. Anybody who says otherwise is an anti-national Deshdrohi. I'll be back with the next episode. I hope you liked this one. Thank you.